Salute. This morning, Her Honour is accompanied by the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, and Mrs. Carla Ford, the Honourable Ted Arnott, Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, the Honourable Michael Ford, Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, the Honourable Lisa Thompson, Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, Ms. Michelle D'Emmanuel, Secretary of the Cabinet, and Brigadier General Josh Major, Commander, Canadian Armed Forces, 4th Division. Mesdames et Messieurs, veuillez vous lever pour l'arrivée de la lieutenant-gouverneur de l'Ontario, l'Honorable Elizabeth Dowdeswell, et veuillez rester debout pendant le salut vice-royal. Son honneur est accompagné par le cortège officiel, l'Honorable Doug Ford, Premier ministre de l'Ontario, et Madame Carla Ford, l'Honorable Ted Arnott, Président de l'Assemblée législative, l'Honorable Michael Ford, Ministre des Affaires civiques et du multiculturalisme, l'Honorable Lisa Thompson, Ministre de l'Agriculture, de l'Alimentation et des Affaires rurales, Madame Michelle D'Emmanuel, Secrétaire du Conseil des ministres, et Brigadier General Josh Major, Commandant 4e Division du Canada. Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir. I am pleased to introduce our MC for today, the Secretary of the Cabinet, Ms. Michelle D'Emmanuel.
Welcome. Welcome. Your Honor, Premier, Mrs. Ford, Speaker, Ministers, Chief Hare, Brigadier General, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to say what a pleasure it is for me to be acting as your MC on this very special flag-raising ceremony to celebrate the coronation of His Majesty King Charles III and Her Majesty Queen Camilla. Thank you for joining us on this truly historic event, a first in over 7 decades. Today, we will raise the Canadian coronation emblem in celebration and support of our system of democratic parliamentary government. First, I'd like to begin by recognizing that we are on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations, including the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat. This land is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. I would like to also acknowledge that the lands we are gathered on are covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and I want to show my and our respect. Hundreds of years after these first treaties were signed, they are still relevant today. Now, I'd like to welcome and invite members of the Red Bear Drummers to begin our ceremony with a traditional drumming circle. In Indigenous culture, the drum represents Mother Earth and the universal heartbeat. It facilitates the ability to listen to our souls so that we can understand our purpose and our connection to each other in the circle of life.
Ani makade makwa kwe indishnakas Toronto wekwa makong chiging and dojnaba megazea do damnishnabe kwe indao. Hello everyone. In Ojibwe, I said my spirit name is Black Bear Woman Who Runs in the Sky. I live in Toronto. My family comes from Chiging and Wikwemikong on Manitoulin Islands. And I'm Eagle Clan and I'm Ojibwe. So here we have the Red Bear Singers, and these singers are made out of residential school survivors, 60 Scoop survivors, day school survivors, as well as intergenerational survivors. And we come together and sing for healing for our community and our children and the grandchildren for the 7 generations. So We're going to sing a morning song to open up the event. Miigwech.
Thank you so much. Before we raise the Canadian coronation emblem, I'd like to take a moment to share the symbolism and meaning of its design. The royal monogram in the center of the emblem and the royal crown at the top are personal symbols of the king. The string of 13 pennants represents Canada's provinces and territories, and their circular arrangement conveys the idea of inclusion for all Canadians. The circle is also an important concept for many Indigenous people, symbolizing not only equity, but also the cycles of the natural world. The green color of the shapes is associated with the environment, which has long been an important cause for His Majesty and symbolizes hope and growth. Inclusion and togetherness are represented by the white spaces between the green shapes, which resemble paths leading to a central meeting place. The entire white space can be seen as a sunburst, symbolizing innovation and new ideas. Now, I would like to welcome the massed band of the 32nd Canadian Brigade Group of the 4th Canadian Division. The band will play the Royal Anthem in honor of His Majesty, King Charles III, as the Canadian coronation emblem is raised. Following the Royal Anthem, you will hear the guns of the 7th Toronto Regiment Royal Canadian Artillery as they fire a 21-gun salute. I would now like to invite the Honourable Elizabeth Dowdeswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, and the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, to come forward and present the Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers to our extraordinary Ontario recipients. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now ask our first recipient to come forward, Colonel Donald Cranston. Since 1984, Donald has played an active role in a variety of organizations, from educational institutions to historic military landmarks. His fundraising efforts and executive leadership have supported youth initiatives in sport and music and have preserved and revitalized historic military landmarks. Your Honor, Premier Colonel Donald Cranston. Next, I would like to call upon David Evershed. With 25 international assignments over the last 18 years to his credit, David has contributed tremendously to the growth of Canadian Executive Service Organization. In addition to supporting internal volunteer outreach and recruitment strategies, he has worked with partners in Africa and Eastern Europe, as well as in Indigenous communities across Canada, to strengthen the success and capacity of partner organizations. Your Honor, Premier David Evershed. Our next recipient is Teresa Grabowski. As a founder of Challenge League Sport, Teresa has been providing people with special needs the opportunity to participate in team sports since 1994. Under her leadership and direction, the organization has grown from a single summer baseball team to a year-round initiative offering baseball, soccer, and basketball to a wide range of athletes from ages 10 to 65. Your Honor, Premier Teresa Grabowski. Our next recipient is Dr. Dahlia Carroll. As an undergrad student at Queen's University, then as a medical student at the University of Ottawa, and now a resident physician in obstetrics and gynecology, Dr. Dahlia Carroll has made it a priority for her to volunteer. She is passionate about helping children and has volunteered as a camp counselor for individuals in politics through her involvement. Dr. Dahlia Carroll has made it a priority for her to volunteer. She is passionate about helping children and has volunteered as a camp counselor for individuals in politics through her involvement with Amnesty International and Equal Voice. Her contributions have helped to enhance many of Amnesty International's programs and have provided leadership opportunities in politics and politics with youth involved. Your Honor, Premier Sharmila Setaram. I would now like to invite the Honourable Elizabeth Dowdeswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, to share her thoughts on this very, very special day.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour, bonjour, and welcome. Merci à tous de vous joindre à nous sur cette terre visée par un traité en cette journée historique, le couronnement du roi Charles III. We come together to celebrate the beginning of a new reign, to celebrate the unifying power of the crown, and to acknowledge a moment of both continuity and change. It is through traditions of ceremony and symbols that we mark historic moments. And as we watch a flag rise on the grounds of the provincial capital in honor of our new monarch, King Charles III, we do so with pride and dignity. Flags stand for our values, and as much as the coronation flag, this new symbol, represents the crown and its storied past, it is equally about our collective future, about what kind of country and world we are striving to build for the next generation. The crown has always reflected the values that unite us as Ontarians, values of service, of duty, of determination, of compassion, and of respect for diversity and human rights. We care for our environment. We seek economic security, reconciliation, and social justice. We are open to the world, and we want a world that works for everyone. With an unwavering, unshakable spirit, Ontarians have responded to recent challenging times and rapid change. We have done so ever supported by the stability of a constitutional democracy. The Crown in Canada has been a steadfast presence, providing continuity and comfort. For 70 years, those qualities were embodied by our beloved Queen Elizabeth II. And today, we look to a new sovereign for this example. King Charles has an abiding curiosity and love for our country. Over the last 50 years, he's traveled throughout our province, from Hamilton to Kingston to Niagara to Sudbury to Prince Edward County and far beyond. He's explored the traditional knowledge of Indigenous peoples and their history. He's learned about our advances in agriculture and evolving green technologies, and appreciated the glories of our landscape. His warmth and generosity of spirit is always clearly on display. The commitments of King Charles have been foreshadowed in those visits. A commitment to service and building of community, a renewed commitment to reconciliation, a prescient understanding of the importance of the environment, and a commitment to the broader concept of sustainability, support for our military, and a lifelong commitment to young people and their future. And for His Majesty, these are commitments in both word and action. In his honor, it was fitting that today we presented the Sovereign's Medal for volunteers. These Ontarians you've just met have made a difference at home and abroad. They are cornerstones of their communities. Indeed, this celebration of service is also a celebration of Ontario, one that will continue this afternoon here at Queen's Park but also across the province in cultural sites and in our parks. For over a century, the following words have been inscribed on our province's coat of arms: "Loyal she began, loyal she remains." Today, I invite all Ontarians to join me in bringing those historic words to life in celebrating the coronation of our new King. It's my sincere wish that here in Ontario, in Canada, and across the Commonwealth, this momentous occasion will serve as a beacon in the collective search for a sustainable, resilient, and bright future. Enjoy the day and keep it in your memories.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Doug Ford, to bring greetings.
Well, good morning, everyone, and what a beautiful day to celebrate the coronation and welcome and thank you for joining us. I was so impressed when we came up and we saw so many people, and I'm sure many of you are from one of the 54 Commonwealth countries. It's such a privilege to be here today alongside Lieutenant Governor Dowdeswell, Speaker Ted Arnott, Minister Thompson, and Minister Ford, along with our caucus members. Commissioner Creek, great to see you as well, to celebrate this historic occasion. I also want to acknowledge Consul General from the UK. Great to see you, Consul General, and we will get on those rides later on. Chief Justice Tulloch, Chief Hare, Brigadier General Josh Major, and all the recipients of the Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers, and thank you for everything you do. Friends, over 7 decades ago, some people may well remember the coronation of Her Majesty, the late Queen Elizabeth II. In the post-war era, the Queen's coronation was a new beginning, a time of hope and renewal, a great celebration, and the first ever televised British coronation. And friends, today starts a new chapter in the history of Canada and the Commonwealth with the coronation of His Majesty King Charles III and Her Majesty the Queen. Just like his late mother, King Charles has a great love for Canada. Having visited here 18 times over the past 50 years, including several memorable trips to Ontario. Having supported the late Queen in her role as head of state throughout her reign, King Charles has been active in all areas of public life for decades. As Prince of Wales, His Majesty established 20 charities, including the Princess Trust here in Canada, an organization that focuses on helping young people and military veterans overcome obstacles and prepare for the future of work. And with this deep appreciation for our people, our lands, and our history, His Majesty continues to be a champion of conservation and Indigenous reconciliation. Friends, here in Ontario and across Canada, the monarchy represents continuity and stability. It's an important part of our history, our values, our sense of identity, and our government systems. So today, I encourage everyone to join in the festivities to celebrate the new King here at Queen's Park, in your communities across Ontario, or at one of our beautiful provincial parks or cultural attractions. On behalf of all Ontarians, on this very special occasion, I wish King Charles III, Her Majesty the Queen, every success in their reign. Long live the King. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier Ford. I am pleased now to ask the Honourable Ted Arnott, Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario, to say a few words.
Your Honor, Premier Ford, Ontario Regional Chief Hare, invited guests, all who've joined us here today, as we celebrate the coronation of Their Majesties, the King and Queen of Canada. Welcome. On this day, we acknowledge our history. We look to the past, taking pride in all of our accomplishments, and at the same time reflecting upon the injustices which are also part of that history. And on this day, we acknowledge our future. We look ahead, taking strength in the hope that's in our hearts, but at the same time, resolving to do better so that freedom prevails and justice rules. Today is not merely a celebration of a new king and queen living in a distant land, celebrities visiting us occasionally to encourage good works and remind us of an empire that long ago ceased to exist. That is not what our modern constitutional monarchy represents. Today, just as always, the Crown, as personified and embodied by His Majesty King Charles III, is the fundamental element of our parliamentary democracy and our legal system. It is the foundation upon which our government is structured and how it functions, how it seeks to meet the needs of the people we serve. Let's recall what the greatest parliamentarian of all time, Winston Churchill, once said. Parliamentary democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others that have been tried from time to time, he said. And parliamentary democracy, with elected representatives coming together and meeting in Parliament to debate, decide, and vote, as we do here every day that the House sits, this system we have, with all its obvious flaws, but equally obvious virtues, can only operate over time if there's stability and continuity. If there is a head of state who is above politics and who unifies and embodies the interests of the nation and its people. In our time, that institution is the Crown. In our time, today, that person is His Majesty the King. As Canadians, we are all respected around the world, not so much because of our might or because of our accomplishments. We are respected and admired because of the character of our people and the values we demonstrate every day, including our diversity, our tolerance, our fairness, and our compassion. The Canadian example is a beacon to a troubled world, and it's our system of government that has been the framework upon which today's Canada was built and continues to grow and evolve to something even better. But His Majesty can't be here all the time, obviously, and no doubt that he wishes he was able to be here more often. And so he is represented here by Her Honour, the Lieutenant Governor, whose commitment to service is the very same as the late Queen that she served. It is tireless, it is genuine, and it is total. Today, we are very fortunate to have Her Honour representing His Majesty the King in this province. Thank you, Your Honour. And let us always acknowledge and never forget that we meet here at this moment at Queen's Park, named for Her Majesty Queen Victoria in 1860. These legislative grounds rest on the traditional lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and have been a gathering place for other Indigenous peoples, including the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, for thousands of years. A gathering place where we assemble on this glorious day of celebration and renewal at a place named for a monarch long ago, but consecrated by the peoples who were here first, symbolizing the sacred bond between the Crown and Indigenous peoples. In 2021, we unveiled an Indigenous carving here at the Legislative Assembly, which was the first major alteration of the Chamber in many years. That carving, the 7 grandfather teachings, serves to remind members every day of the virtues that we need to demonstrate in order to live a good life. Love, wisdom, truth, respect, humility, honesty, and courage. Today, I leave you with the thoughts of Gima Stacey Laforme the day we unveiled the carving. Gima Laforme reminded us that we have a similar past, a kindred spirit, and a common heritage. And we must always remember the real reason we gather, to do the right thing for our people, our children, and our future. Let us remember that too every time we say, God save the King.
Thank you, Speaker Arnott. It is now my pleasure to call upon the Honourable Michael Ford, Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism.
if I can get this open. That would help. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Your Honor, Premier, Speaker, Chief Hare, Secretary, members of Cabinet, and all members of the Legislative Assembly, and everyone who has gathered on the front lawns today. It is an honor to be with you on such a historic day. The monarchy has acted as a foundation of our province and way of government, and continues to be an important part of our history and who we are as a province. It has made our province prosper and grow into a strong and vibrant place it is today. It has acted as a source of stability over centuries of change that Ontario has bared witness to. Today is a day to celebrate, not just the coronation of His Majesty and Her Majesty the Queen, but also the start of a new chapter for us here in our great province, as we continue to work together to create a brighter future for all people, including the multicultural and Indigenous communities who call the province of Ontario home. A future filled with hope, optimism, and prosperity. On this beautiful day, I encourage everyone to celebrate by joining us this afternoon at the Royal Fun Fair, as you see behind you, here at Queen's Park, or by visiting one of the many free attractions and parks across the province. Today is another, yet notable day marked in the history books for generations to come. Whether you have traveled overseas to the United Kingdom for this occasion, got up at 4 a.m. to watch the ceremonies live, or joined us here at Queen's Park this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoy the coronation day of His Majesty King Charles III and Her Majesty the Queen. God save the King.
Thank you so much, Minister Ford. So that concludes our formal ceremony for today, this beautiful day. Thank you for coming out to celebrate on this truly historic occasion. And as others have referenced, I invite you all to join us on the South Lawn for our Royal Fun Fair, where there will be entertainment and refreshments. I'd like now to turn it back over to Kara to conclude.
Thank you, Secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, I now ask you to please rise as you are able for the playing of O Canada and remain standing for the departure of the official party. Veuillez vous lever pour l'hymne national et rester debout pour le départ des dignitaires.